My husband promised me forever. But on our anniversary, I learned I wasn't the only one he made that promise to. When I married Alex, I thought I had finally found someone who would never betray me. He made me believe in love again, told me I was the best thing that ever happened to him, and for years I clung to those words like they were unshakable truth. We built a life together, celebrated milestones, shared secrets in the dark, but all of that began to unravel on our 10th anniversary. He told me he had to attend an urgent meeting before joining me for dinner, but there was something in his voice, something too careful, too controlled, so I followed him, my heart pounding harder with each turn his car took, until I saw him walk into the same restaurant where he had once proposed to me, only this time he wasn't alone. She was sitting there in a deep emerald dress, smiling at him like she already knew every part of him, and he leaned in close, holding her hand the same way he used to hold mine, speaking softly like the rest of the world didn't exist. And then I saw it. The bracelet I thought he had saved up to buy for me months ago, the one he claimed was out of stock, it was on her wrist, glittering under the candlelight as if mocking me. I stayed hidden, frozen, my mind spinning with 100 questions and no answers. Every laugh they shared felt like a knife, every glance between them was another cut, and as I stood there I realized this wasn't some random mistake, this was planned, this was deep, and whatever I uncovered next would change everything. I drove home in silence, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The city lights blurred through the tears I refused to let fall, because if I started crying I knew I wouldn't stop. When I reached the house, I sat in the driveway for what felt like hours, my mind replaying every kiss, every whispered promise, wondering how many of them had been shared with her too. When he finally walked in that night, carrying the faint scent of the restaurant, I forced myself to smile, forced my voice to stay steady, and asked how his meeting went. He kissed my forehead like nothing was wrong, like my world hadn't just cracked open, and I realized in that moment, he didn't suspect a thing. The next morning I went through his phone, not recklessly but with the patience of someone who knew the truth was hiding in plain sight, and I found it. A hidden folder buried under work documents. Inside were photos of them on trips I thought he'd taken alone, receipts for gifts he told me he couldn't afford, messages where he called her my love and told her she was his real home. I wanted to confront him right then, scream, throw every word like glass at his face, but I stopped because something in me knew this wasn't just betrayal, it was a pattern, a life he had been living alongside mine, and if I played this right I could find out how deep it really went. So I smiled at him over breakfast, asked if he wanted me to book us a trip for next month, pretending to still be the wife who adored him, while inside I was building a plan, because if he could make me feel small, I would show him what it felt like to lose everything he thought was untouchable. 2 weeks later I had everything I needed. The photos, the transfers, the hotel bookings in cities he swore he'd never been to, even voice messages where he told her he was counting down the days until he could finally be free. And each word felt like it was peeling my skin away, but I held it all inside because I wanted the reveal to burn as much as the betrayal did. Our anniversary dinner was the perfect stage. I booked the same restaurant he took her to, same table, same soft candlelight, and when he walked in I saw that smug smile, the one that used to make me feel special but now only made me sick. We ordered wine, made small talk, and when the plates arrived I slid my phone across the table. He frowned, pressed play, and the sound of his own voice calling another woman, the love of my life, filled the air between us. His hand froze on the glass, his eyes darting to mine, but I didn't blink, I didn't flinch, I just stared as the color drained from his face. I told him I knew about every lie, every night he said he was working late but was actually with her, every gift he said we couldn't afford but placed on her wrist instead, and I told him that while he was busy giving her my life I was busy taking his. That's when I handed him the final envelope. The one with the documents showing the house, the company, and the joint account were now mine alone, his name stripped from everything, because the same woman he thought was too naive to notice was the one quietly dismantling his world piece by piece. He sat there in stunned silence, gripping the edge of the table like the room was spinning, and I stood up, leaned close enough for him to feel the cold in my voice and whispered, "You didn't just lose me tonight. You lost everything." Then I walked out, leaving him with the bill, the wine, and the ruin he had built with his own hands. I didn't just walk out of that restaurant to be free of him. I walked out with a plan that would make him wish he'd never underestimated me. For days I ignored his calls, his texts, his sudden desperate knocks at my door because I knew the silence would eat him alive, and while he was spiraling, I was busy dismantling every safety net he had left. First, I called our suppliers, the ones who'd worked with our company for years, and let them know in detail why his name would no longer appear on any documents. I showed them the proof of his betrayal, and it didn't take long before they began refusing to deal with him entirely. Then I reached out to his closest business partners, the men he played golf with every Saturday, the ones who thought we were the perfect couple, and I gave them screenshots, voice notes and receipts, making sure the truth spread in whispers that would never fade. His professional reputation crumbled faster than I expected, but I wasn't done, not when I knew he still had one place where he felt untouchable. His family, the same people who never liked me, who saw me as lucky to have him, so I invited them over, served them coffee and laid everything on the table, every photo, every message, every piece of evidence, watching their proud smiles dissolve into disgust as they realized the golden son they adored was nothing but a liar who built his empire on my back. And the final blow was her, the woman he had given my place to, the one he thought was his escape. I found out where she worked, sent her every piece of proof, and the look on her face when she saw how much he'd hidden from her was almost worth the years he stole from me. She wasn't his salvation anymore, she was his last burned bridge. By the time I was finished, he wasn't just alone. He was jobless, broke, and living in the apartment he once swore he'd never step foot in again. I didn't destroy him in anger, I destroyed him in precision. And every time I passed him on the street, watching him look away in shame, I knew my revenge wasn't just complete, it was perfect. Months later, I got an invitation in the mail. No sender name, just heavy cream paper with gold lettering. It was for a small charity gala, the kind of event he used to drag me to when he wanted to show off his perfect wife. Curiosity got the better of me, so I went, dressed in a gown that made the room turn when I walked in. He was there, standing in the corner in a cheap suit, pouring drinks for guests. Not as the host, not as a guest, but as the hired staff. The once proud man who used to toast with champagne was now refilling glasses for the very people who once admired him, and when his eyes met mine I smiled, slow and deliberate, and walked past him without a word. But before I left, I slipped a crisp envelope into the tip jar in front of him. Inside was a single photograph. The two of us from our wedding day, his arms around me, his eyes full of promises he never kept. And on the back I'd written 5 words in ink so dark it bled through the paper. This was the last time. I didn't stay to watch him open it, I didn't need to, because I knew that photo would haunt him long after the night was over. A reminder that the woman he thought would break was the one who buried him instead. Silence can be your greatest weapon. You don't always have to react in the moment. Sometimes patience gives you the leverage to hit harder when the time is right. Never hand over all your power. Keep your name on the things you help build, protect your assets, and never let love blind you to self-preservation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories.